You're watching How to Cake It. I'm Yolanda, and they're all the rage. So I decided to cake a How to Cake It fidget spinner out of cake. To make this fidget spinner cake, I baked 10 pounds of my ultimate chocolate cake in 4 round pans. The first thing I need to do is remove all 4 of my chocolate cakes from their pans and level them. Make sure to save your cake humps. We're going to use them later.
Save the humps!
Save the humps. Now I'm gonna cut each cake into 2 layers. If you're hooked on this craze and you agree that fidget spinners should be edible, please share this video with all your fidget spinning friends. I don't think I have any fidget spinners. Oh, my son. That counts, right? Sir Squeeze is in the house as usual. People don't say in the house enough anymore, Jocelyn. You gotta be like, Sir Squeeze is in the house! Right. I feel like you should cheer when I say it.
Okay,
like we're at a house party. Kid and Play is over there.
Orhan, put in house party graphics.
Okay, I can't wait to see Orhan's house party graphics. Sir Squeeze is in the house!
Okay, that
was excellent. Don't forget, Sir Squeeze is part of our Crumb Coat and Chill bundle, and they are back in stock at howtocakeit.com.
Like, you know how you say Sir Squeeze is in the house with his crew? Or
yeah.
like Yolanda came. Yes. It's like Sir Squeeze is in the house with his
bundle.
Sir Squeeze is in the house with his
bundle. Sir Squeeze doesn't go anywhere without his bundle. Have you met Offset Spatula? I need to give a proper shout out because someone else is in the house today. It's the hacksmith who made my fidget spinner turntable for me. It's essentially like a Lazy Susan or a turntable, but in the shape of a fidget spinner. So I just want to thank the hacksmith so much because this wouldn't have been possible without you. Now I need to use my fidget spinner turntable, just the top part, not the turning part, and I'm gonna lay it upside down onto my largest round cake. And now I need to trim away the parts that are sticking out beneath the board. That will become the center of my fidget spinner. I now place one of the 10-inch layers that I've carved away into the center of the fidget spinner board. I'm gonna carve each of my 7-inch cakes to butt up against the center cake, completely covering my fidget spinner shaped board. That's a really easy thing to say. Now I have 1 layer of chocolate cake on the fidget spinner shaped board. The next thing I need to do is fill this cake, and for that I've decided to dye some buttercream a nice shade of pink, like a nice punchy How to Cake It pink, because this is a How to Cake It fidget spinner. So now I'm gonna take this beautiful punchy pink buttercream and ice the top of this fidget spinner cake, or what's the center of the fidget spinner cake. Once I have a nice layer of buttercream on, I'm gonna top this fidget spinner with the other 4 layers of cake. So they all need to be carved just like the first layers and fit in place, completing the shape. Now, guess what I'm gonna do, Jocelyn?
Crumb coat and chill.
Yes. Crumb coat and chill. I've decided to crumb coat this in plain Italian meringue buttercream, and I used a small spatula, just really gluing all the crumbs to the fidget spinner, and then I chilled it.
I feel like the crumb coat and chill dance for this one should be you spinning.
I don't think we're gonna get that.
Okay, keep going.
No.
I wanted you to let go.
Whoa. This is my new fidget spinner hands. Time to ice my fidget spinner cake one more time in Italian meringue buttercream and chill it again. Remember those humps I told you to save? We're going to use them now to recreate the center part of the fidget spinner, which probably has a name. Leave it in the comments below if you know what it's called. And what I'm gonna do is take one of my humps, level it a bit, and create that little circular disc that sort of rests on top and bottom of the fidget spinner where you spin. I used a small cake pan and a circle cutter to achieve the fidget spinner shape I was looking for. since this is a how to cake it fidget spinner, I'm gonna put sweets on each end. I'm gonna use my fidget spinner to help me decide what kind of dessert to have.
That's a great use.
Right? So I'm planning to make a tiny pie, a tiny cake, and a tiny donut. Well, they're not really tiny. The donut was real size. I'm gonna create my small cake. For this, I've again leveled one of my cake humps and used a small pan to cut out a circle. Now I wanna layer this tiny little piece of cake into 2 layers, just like a cake. For my small pie, once again using a cake pan to cut out a circle, but I also need to bevel this circle the way that a pie plate is. So I'm doing this upside down, just using a small serrated knife to cut an A-line cut and create a small pie. Finally, I need to create my donut. For this, I cut out the same size circle of cake from a cake hump, and then I use a small serrated knife to essentially carve a donut. And then using a circle cutter, cutting out the center and rounding out that little valley as well. I really felt like eating a donut while making this. That's just some personal information for you. I want to make sure that all 3 of my desserts are the same size on the ends of my fidget spinner, so I'm using the same size cake pan to carve them all. Sir Squeeze is in the house! We had such a good time at the last party. We invited him again.
Did he bring his bundle?
I just want to be clear, Sir Squeeze's bundle is not the only bundle in these streets. There is the summertime bundle.
That's true.
There's nothing like a summertime party, right? Make sure to get yours at howtocakeit.com. Once the simple syrup was soaked in, I then crumb coated all of these cake parts. The center of the fidget spinner, the donut, the pie, and the cake. Oh, and I also, remember how I cut the cake in 2 layers? I filled it first and crumb coated it. Chill time. Now I need to ice all 4 of these little cakes one more time in Italian meringue buttercream. With the help of Sir Squeeze's bundle. I'd be nothing without Sir Squeeze in this bundle.
Are you in Sir Squeeze's bundle? Are you part of that bundle?
No. Back to the main fidget spinner cake. That sounds really enticing. Main fidget spinner. So I decided to roll out my teal fondant into 1 huge sheet and then carefully pick it up onto a French rolling pin and drape it over. Working quickly, I use my hands to smooth it down to the fidget spinner, really working on all of the edges first, the corners first, because that's where fondant will tear. There was some mild cracking, which I will address later, but for the most part, I was very happy. And then I used a sharp paring knife to cut away the excess. I had to hold my knife parallel to the fidget spinner board that was made and run it along the base, cutting away the excess. I want to place this cake in the fridge to chill so that the fondant can stiffen up a bit and I can address the small tears and cracking. In the meantime, I'm going to cover the top of the fidget spinner, the little top that I created, in the same teal fondant. I decided to cover the center of the fidget spinner in 2 parts because I had iced it upside down. So first I draped my teal fondant over one side and trimmed it, and then I flipped the cake over, spread on a thin layer of buttercream, and covered that side with my teal fondant. We need to stop all this spinning for a minute and talk about the replicate contest. Remember, a while back I asked you guys to replicate some of my cakes in your very own way. And we have chosen the winners whose cakes will appear in my upcoming cake book. It's so exciting. I've actually seen it myself, your work printed in my book, and they look incredible. We will be announcing the name of each winner over on my Instagram. So head over to my account, the handle is right here, or you can always just search the hashtag replicate. If you'd like to pre-order my book, the link is in the description below. You can order it right now before it even hits the shelves. I'm going to use some of my leftover teal fondant to create a fondant paste to fill in the cracks on my main fidget spinner cake. I create a bit of fondant paste with some leftover teal fondant and some water, and what I like to do is just work the water in with a small spatula, just sort of blending it until it reaches the consistency of royal icing. Now that my paste is the perfect consistency, I'm going to apply it to the top edges of my fidget spinner cake. I like to use a small spatula, and I just sort of ice it into the cracks. Cracks are filled, center is made. Now we gotta get to the little cakes on top. First, I'm gonna work on my tiny little pie. First thing I did was create the foil container that pies are often baked in. For this, I rolled out some gray fondant and covered my pie, which is now upside down. Then I took some tin foil and crumpled it up and used this to texture the fondant and make it look like, well, crumpled up foil. So I used crumpled up foil to create crumpled up foil. Once I'm happy with my foil texture on my pie, I then place it in the fridge to chill so that I can paint it. Now that the fondant is a little bit more sturdy, I'm going to paint the gray fondant silver to look like foil. So I just mix a little bit of silver luster dust with clear food grade alcohol and brush it all over my pie shell. You don't have to brush the top because this cake will be turned over and nobody will see the bottom. Once my paint is dry, I can create the pie on top. So what I did is roll out some red fondant, a circle of red fondant, and then I just sort of poked it. Sorry, I don't have a more technical term for that. I wanted, you know how pies don't look perfectly flush, right? So I just wanted it to look like the top of a pie. And then I laid it on top of my chocolate cake. Now I need to recreate the lattice pastry of a pie. It's so much fun. So what you do is dye your fondant to look like pastry. So I used ivory, Jocelyn. And once you're happy with the color, you're going to roll it out and then cut strips. And I cut my strips without a ruler. It's a pie. It has to look rustic, right?
Right. Imperfect.
Don't use that word.
Perfectly rustic.
Don't use that word. Rustic and organic. And then I'm going to create the lattice on top of the pie. So you lay down 3 strips in the same direction, then you bend them halfway back. Then you lay a strip down. Then you put it over. I'm not going to describe this whole process, but you want it to look like they're intertwined. So each strip should go over and under, over and under, over and under. And the next thing I want to do is paint these strips to look like a baked pie.
Do you use ivory?
Yes, Jocelyn! Surprise! I mixed my ivory with clear food grade alcohol and I painted each strip with my paint. And as a final touch, well, no, it's not quite final, almost final touch, I sprinkled some sugar onto the pastry because I love that on a pie. I love that like crispy, sugary crust. To recreate the look of a cooked pie, I put some jam into a parchment paper bag and then I just piped it over my red fondant in all the exposed parts between my lattice.
Smart. That sounds delicious.
Engineering. Cake engineer.
Yeah, Yolanda Gampp.
I wear a tinfoil ring to prove it. I'm gonna put one on and go to like an engineering convention. And when I get there, I'm gonna be like, this engineer is in the house. I'm guessing I get kicked out right there. I'm gonna move on and create my donut. My favorite kind of donut is chocolate with the chocolate glaze. Because yum. I roll out my chocolate fondant and then I cut a band and use that band to cover the inside, the inner hole of the donut. I drape the rest of my chocolate fondant over the donut, smoothing it around, trim away the excess underneath the bottom, and then I trim away the center hole. And for my glaze, I'm using modeling chocolate. I roll out my modeling chocolate and drape it over the top of the donut. And then I used a sharp paring knife to just sort of cut it in a wavy circle around the donut, as if it was glaze that was poured on. I really wanted a donut, I'm not gonna lie. Every donut needs sprinkles, I feel. The first thing I'm gonna do is brush on a little bit clear piping gel onto my modeling chocolate and then sprinkle the donut. I actually used real sprinkles, I didn't create them out of fondant because this donut is life size. Strawberry seeds took me over the edge.
Yeah.
I need a minute. Finally, I get to make the tiny cake. So I covered my cake first with yellow fondant and trimmed away the excess. And then I covered the top with some punchy pink fondant, and I wanted to create like a scalloped edge around the side as if that had been poured also like a glaze over the cake. But this time I wanted my scallop to be even, unlike my donut, because that was enough random action for me, okay? My cake is almost done, but I feel it really needs some rosettes, as any bakery cake would have. So for that, I'm softening a little bit of white fondant with vegetable shortening and placing it into my clay extruder. And I'm using the faceplate of the clay extruder that creates a rope. It's actually, you know what? It's actually kind of this shape.
Oh, cool.
It's this shape, the faceplate. And once you've extruded the cord, you then just twist it slightly to get that rope effect and wind them up on each other, creating the look of like a piped rosette, but it's fondant. I wanted to create the type of bakery cake that has, you know, the marks of where you're supposed to cut it already and slice it. I cut out a parchment paper circle. I then folded it into 12 equal sections. Now I'm going to use that as a template on top of my tiny cake, and then I used a ruler and my sharp paring knife to join the lines and create the slice marks. You don't want to cut deep, you just want to see the lines. Now that my tiny cake is divided into 12 slices, I'm going to glue the rosettes onto the end of each slice with a little bit of clear piping gel. I'm going to top each one of my rosettes with a cherry, and in this case I'm using a small red candy bead because it's the perfect size. It's time to assemble this fidget spinner, but before that I want to label it as a How to Cake It fidget spinner. I've rolled out some black fondant nice and thin, and then I used some letter cutters to cut out HTCI. I then placed the center of my fidget spinner, you guessed it, in the center of my fidget spinner, gluing it on with a little bit of royal icing this time. This got really stressful because the fidget spinner kept spinning.
How dare it keep
How
spinning?
dare it do what it said it was gonna do? Finally, I glue on all 3 of my mini cakes, my mini cherry pie, my regular size chocolate glazed donut, and my mini cake. Please remember, if you loved this video, to share it. There is a button below that will help you do that. And please leave a comment below letting me know which dessert you would choose. Hashtag cake or hashtag donut or hashtag cherry pie. Let me know below. Cake better win, but no pressure. If you love novelty cakes, there's a whole playlist right here. And if you love giant food cakes, there's another playlist right here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you can do that right here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back next Tuesday. What's next Tuesday's cake again? You should just drop out like that. Right? And they'll be like, no!